Everybody would love to see a wolverine. It's one of the largest in the weasel family. I was with a group at Grinnell Glacier last summer, and we had a sighting of a wolverine for 10 minutes running across the glacier. You could just see this powerful, charismatic animal that just is a phantom on the landscape. And it really beckoned how spiritual and how special this place is to still have wolverines on the landscape.
It's been really interesting, almost 15 plus years of guiding, and to be able to really share the wildlife with them, even if that's flipping over rocks and showing them aquatic insects that they've never thought twice about stepping on and squishing. Or to see a deer across the stream and realize that's something they've never seen in their whole life. You know, eagles going overhead regularly. It's pretty amazing when you do see it through their eyes. Every single day is a fresh new experience.
You know, when I'm painting, I particularly love the prairie because it's such a subtle thing compared to the mountains. It's entirely different. And then you begin to smell the sagebrush and all your senses come into play. It just kind of caresses your soul in a unique way.
One of the aspects of tribal languages that's important to understand is over thousands of years, these languages have developed amongst people here as a result of their relationship with the land. And those languages still ring true over the valleys and the mountains and the rivers, all through Montana, because they were spoken here since time started.
I remember when I first moved out here that it seemed like somebody just took the lid off the world. You can see for miles, and there's just this wide open feeling to it. There's some sort of freeness associated with that big open landscape that's out there. When you get up on even just a slight vista, that really truly looks like a sagebrush sea.
Within this umbrella of sky, there's a tremendous diversity of natural landscapes and wildlife. And these places are really important. We are, after all, simply human. And we need this connection to nature. And when we come back from camping in the wilderness, fishing a trout stream, scaling an ice climb, any of these special things, we come back with a greater appreciation for our own limitations, a sense of humility, a sense of caring. And those are something that perhaps as we approach 7 billion people on this planet, they're good things to have in your heart.
Because of the low population here, you feel like it's all of your own. And I think that's what's so special about it.
Good evening and welcome to REI Seattle. My name is Josh, and I'm with REI Outdoor School, where we have outings that will educate you the basics on getting outside with our kayaking, with our backpacking, and with our cycling, and more. But first I would like to welcome everybody who are live streaming, as well as for y'all here in the Seattle store. First, before we get going with the Get Out More tour, I'd like to welcome Courtney with REI Adventures to tell you more about some of the great opportunities for travel and adventure with REI.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. I just want to take a few brief minutes, and as you all get to know when these things work. We sell gear here at REI, but we're not about the gear. We're about what you can do with the gear. And so we've got a couple great opportunities, well, several great opportunities for our members and non-members like to get out and experience some of these feelings and sentiments that you just saw in the video here. We can learn with Outdoor School. Outdoor School is sort of the local, each store has an Outdoor School component that offers in-store classes, single day or overnight outings, and then you can travel with REI Adventures, which is the division I'm from. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to find this real quickly. If you go to the REI store, click on the Learn tab, it'll take you to REI Outdoor Schools and Classes and Outings, teach you how to pack and pack, take you on your first overnight packing class, and see a couple of the local offerings we have here. got a brother in Boise, you can send him to his Boise, Idaho store. They'll have offerings there. If you've got a cousin in Charleston, South Carolina, you can send him out there. We've got these programs all over the country. So that's something to take a look at. Check out our tab there. And then if you come to REI Adventures and want to travel the world with us, we've got backpacking courses all over a bunch of the national parks around the United States. So this really kind of takes the fear out of getting out there. If it's been a while, it's your first time backpacking, you're taking a significant other or a child that hasn't been backpacking before, we can take a little bit of the trouble out of getting the permit, planning the route and whatnot. So that's my quick spiel. I'm going to turn it over to the experts here. Randi and Sheri have been doing this tour for 7 years now, and we're very thrilled to have them here. They're going to teach you a little bit more good tips and tricks, and just like we do, their mission is to inspire and educate, to get us all out there and enjoy these beautiful spaces. I'll turn it over to them.
Flagship REI, what a special place. It's great to see everybody at home watching live on REI.com. How about REI for doing that kind of programming, huh? We are Sheri and Randi Sheri on behalf of Backpacker Magazine. We want to officially welcome all of you to the 2012 Get Out More Tour. We're crazy excited to be here because one, we get to talk about something we're very passionate about. We are truly living our passion. And two, it's something that can impact your lives, like really change your lives. So we feel very fortunate that you're giving us a little window into your world where we can hopefully provide a ton of information, a lot of inspiration as well, and get you out playing hard. Now, to quote Conrad Anker, who we saw in that short little film there to get started, he's climbing up onto that gate, he's under what he calls an umbrella of blue sky, right? He says something that to me is pretty profound when he reminds us, you know, the 7 billion of us out there in this big wide world we live in now, that it is a connection with nature that we need to be reminded of when we consider that we're simply human, right? And I would challenge any and every one of you to find a greater connection with nature than backpacking can provide you. Backpacking allows you to take what's up here and what you can put in here. It allows you to go out into any wild place and live a completely self-reliant life. And I think that's a very, very powerful thing. That's something that can really build a great deal of confidence in each and every one of us. And I know for a fact that when Sheri and I get back from hiking and camping in the wilderness, we do have a greater appreciation of our own limitations and a sense of caring and a sense of humility that even if it was there before, we come back and it's renewed and it's refreshed. And these are powerful things that we want all of you to be able to experience. And so tonight is all about allowing you to build your backpacking confidence so as to enable you to get out there and do something that seems quite simple but can be very profound. It's the idea of hiking your own hike.
Right. We definitely understand that backpacking means different things to everybody. You know, a lot of people, they hear the word backpacker and they think of adventure travelers, right? You picture these people with these huge backpacks on, kind of touring around from town to town, maybe just doing some sightseeing along the way. Or some of you might envision simple weekend getaways with walks in the woods. And I know we've got some folks with us tonight that see themselves covering many miles over multiple days, weeks, or even months with only the essential supplies in tow. And if you pick up an issue of Backpacker Magazine, you are definitely going to find content that speaks to each of those perspectives. We want to do the same thing tonight. We want to offer you tips and techniques that will help you travel light, that will enhance your weekend getaways, and tips and techniques that will really help you refine a multi-day backpacking kit.
Now, Sheri and I certainly pride ourselves at being backpackers by all definitions of the word. We certainly live an adventure travel style of life. For the last 7 years of our lives, we've been the happiest homeless people you'll ever meet. And we literally are nomadic. We go from one state, national park, forest to the next as we travel around the United States with the Get Out More Tour. It's just an amazing lifestyle that really allows us to put our skills and gear to the test every chance we get, whether it be getting out for the day, the weekend, a week at a time. And we're certainly big, big fans of long-distance backpacking. That's really where we developed our passion for really getting out more. And we spent 222 days on our first long-distance backpacking trip. We went from Georgia to Maine on the Appalachian Trail. Really fell in love with that lifestyle, so much so that we had to do it again. So we started planning and preparing and searching out a new route. And believe it or not, fellas, I managed to convince this fine young lady here to take a backpacking honeymoon. Not bad. A backpacking backpacking honeymoon that allowed us to spend 253 days together as we walked from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean on the route known as the American Discovery Trail. When you put it all together, we're very proud to say that we've spent well over now 1,000 nights together in little tents about that size over there. Well over 10,000 foot miles together out on trails all across this country. And I think we're even prouder to say that
We're still married.
yeah, well, yeah, that too, but I was going to say, we're even prouder to say it's still a work in progress, right? It never gets old. We're always searching for new experiences, new trails, new wilderness areas, new places to test ourselves. And I tell you, there's one consistent element, however, to our backpacking, and that's that we would never take that first step on any trip if we didn't have the confidence of knowing we were prepared. And so we want to instill that confidence in you. And to do that, we want to show you kind of how we go about creating an opportunity to hike our own hike. And there are a lot of steps that have to take place before you ever take that first step on the trail. If you see on this slide here, everything from deciding where you're going and what you're going to be doing to knowing what to expect when you get there, researching the destination you're going into, thinking about the skills that you'll need, and then the last step there, organize gear. Tonight we're going to talk about all of these things, but we're going to do it through that last step, that idea of organizing your gear, because for us to be able to organize our gear, we will have had to have gone through all of these other steps, right? So tonight we want to take an empty backpack, take a kit of gear, and put it together for you. We're going to show you what we're taking, talk about why we're taking it, talk about which of these steps enable us to come up with those decisions, talk about how and why we're packing it for efficiency's sake, and energy efficiency is really important out there in the backpacking world. Hopefully when we're done, it will have inspired you to go home and think about putting a kit of your own together so that you'll be ready to get out there and spend as much time as you possibly can out in these great wild environments.
And when it comes to all of this gear, we recognize we're a bit of a unique scenario these days. We don't really have a gear closet at home anymore. We have more of a gear Subaru that moves with us. But if we did have a gear closet, it would look something like this. We'd have a covered storage bin, our sleeping bag stored in a large mesh sack, and then our selection of backpacks. Now, well, Randy and I, we've had success with all of the gear that we're going to show you tonight. We definitely did not come here to tell you that there's one right way to backpack where you've got to be carrying this one right piece of gear. More than anything, like Randy said, we want you to get out there and hike your own hike. We want to show you some options that we have definitely had some success with and show you some of the latest offerings in the outdoor industry. Now, because we are going to pack the next hour or so full of information, we are going to ask that you hold all of your questions until the end of the clinic. We will definitely stick around at that time and answer any and all questions that you have.
That's right. Now, one of the first clues to exactly what we're doing, if you were to see us at the trailhead, is going to be the backpack we have on our back. Because we really do explore in a variety of ways. And I always like to gauge the ways you guys like to explore. And how many of you would consider yourselves a day hiker? You'd love to get out, get your feet on the dirt, but you like sleeping in your own bed, right? There's some of those. How about the weekenders? Every weekend chance you get, you love that idea of getting out too, but you're going to stay out for a night. And now where am I? If it's not a 4-day trip, it's not really backpacking, folks, right? Yeah, I know we've got some of those too, right? So with that mix in mind, that's really the way we explore as well. When you look at the backpacks that we travel with, you'll be able to tell almost immediately what we're doing. In that if we're going out for the day, maybe a lightweight overnight trip, we're going to carry something like the ACT Trail here. So what makes this pack? We've got the 32 and the 28 SL. We're going to give you a lot of information about the options available to you. And so when we think about things like 28 and 32, what are we talking about? Well, that's the volume in liters. You're going to see packs listed as liters or cubic inches when it comes to the volume. 1 liter is right around 61 cubic inches in case you're comparing two packs. The SL in this pack, manufacturers recognize we're not all the same shape and size. So they're going to give you options. And one of the options is a pack that has narrower shoulder straps, strategically shaped hip belts, shorter torso lengths, designed for folks that are slender or slimline. The SL, that's what that stands for. So you can really customize your comfort by getting a pack that has the appropriate fit. Now these packs weigh in on right around 3 pounds when empty, capable of carrying up to about 25 pounds of gear. So that's the biggest determining factor, right? What are we doing? Well, it depends on how much stuff we're bringing. How much do I need to be able to carry weight-wise? And how much volume do I need? If we need more space for carrying more weight, we're going to step up to something like the ACT Zero here. You've got a pack that's 3 pounds 4 ounces, 3 pounds 2 ounces, the 50 plus 15, the 45 plus 15 SL. These packs, kind of the trimmed down, minimalist version, very lightweight materials, single top loading design. They're capable of carrying loads of about 45 pounds. It's really about what you're bringing with you. The plus 15 element that you see here, I love packs with versatility. You have a pack that now can expand out. So this 50-liter pack can instantly become a 65-liter pack because of what's called a resupply collar. coming out of town with more food, you need to carry a bear canister, you're bringing some ropes for that midweek climb trip. You can get all that stuff in there with the expanded volume. When you don't need it, it collapses away and it's nice and compact. So we really like that versatility. This pack here, this is the air contact. This is the 65 plus 10. We're talking about a much heavier volume pack designed to carry loads of up to 65 pounds comfortably, right? Why? Well, because of a much beefier Veriflex hip fin can fully pivot and allow them to distribute the weight. All of these packs come with some form of George's air contact back system. Love upgrades when we talk about comfort. We're going to talk about weight, we're going to talk about comfort, convenience a lot today. When it comes to comfort, hollow chamber foam that compresses as we walk. What's that going to do? It's going to force air between our back and the pack. Fantastic, right? More airflow, less sweat. Been proven to reduce perspiration by like 15%. So big fan of packs like that. Also, these packs have this very quick torso adjustment. And this is where the fit element comes in. If you don't know your measurement from that 7th vertebrae, the prominent bump in the back of your neck, down to the rear, the shelf of your hip bones. That number in inches is really important in the backpacking world, because if your back torso length doesn't match the torso length of the pack straps aren't going to line up over your shoulders like they're supposed to, the weight's not going to be distributed properly, and you're not going to be as comfortable as you otherwise could be. If you don't know that measurement, these guys can measure it for you. REI has been trained in all of this stuff. So come in here, ask them to put a fitter on it, know that measurement, and make sure you get in a pack. It's going to allow you to be as comfortable as you possibly can out there on trail.
Yeah, and there's no question that life on trail is rough on all this gear, but so is how you store your gear and you travel with it to and from the trailhead. We're doing some adventure traveling. Maybe we're flying to our destination. Definitely going to utilize one of Sea to Summit's pack converters. These are great because they serve double duty. Right now, Randy has this set up so it acts as his pack cover for his pack when he's out on the field. But if you are flying to your destination, it's got a flap that tucks away. Untuck the flap, you can actually zip your whole pack inside. It essentially turns into an oversized duffel bag. Get to the airport, hand the whole kit off to TSA. Your pack is protected while you're traveling. Get to the other side, unzip that flap, tuck it away again, throw the pack on, and you've got your whole load on your back. So definitely a great way to protect your pack when you're traveling. And when it comes to storing our gear, we never store gear away that's wet, and we always follow manufacturer's instructions for items like our sleeping bags. And you notice we store our sleeping bag in a large mesh sack. You really want to protect the insulation inside that bag, so you don't want to store it in a compressed state for long periods of time. The more locked inside that insulation, the more tiny air pockets there's going to be to trap your body heat. And Randy and I are firm believers in the idea of essential gear, and the essential systems of gear are 11 categories of gear that we really consider to be a bare minimum. We recognize the gear that we're going to carry on every trip to meet the needs of each one of these systems is going to vary, but we're confident in knowing that if we've got every one of these systems met on every trip we take, even simple day hikes, we'll be able to positively respond to any accidents or emergencies and safely spend a couple of unplanned nights in the outdoors.
That's right. People ask us all the time for a checklist. I say, well, can you just give me a checklist? And if I just have all that stuff, I know I'm good. And I say, well, we do have a checklist, and this is it. This essential system. When we get back to packing this pack, you'll be able to check off every one of these systems. The exact item might vary from trip to trip, but we know we need to meet these needs. And we'll give you an example of why we think of them as systems with insulation, the first of the systems we'll cover here. And that insulation to us is a combination of equipment that will allow us to not get too hot, not get too cold. We need to think about keeping kind of a thermal equilibrium, if you will, while you're out there, regardless of the conditions you're facing, which means, first of all, we need to know what conditions we're facing. So the first step to determining your insulation equipment is to doing some research on the weather, short-term, long-term forecasts. What exactly are you getting into as far as the conditions go? Once you know that, you can bring equipment that will provide you the insulation that you need. We think about insulation as our clothing, our footwear, and our sleep system. When we think about our sleep system, we're spending the night outside. We need to bring equipment with us that will allow us to stay insulated overnight. We're thinking about things like sleeping bags and pads, and that means we really need to focus on temperature rating. When you think about the temperature rating of your sleeping bag, it's really important to know what affects that rating, and quite a few things do. One of which would be the shape and the size of the bag. You've got rectangular shaped bags, you've got mummy shaped bags. Pretty cool innovations coming along in the spring of 2013 from a company called Nemo's coming out with what they call a spoon shaped bag. I love this concept in that you've got the efficiency of the mummy from kind of the knees down and the shoulders up. But how many of you sleep on your side? We've got a lot of side sleepers out there, right? So why haven't we had a bag with a little spoon-shaped bellow for that knee and elbow kick out before, right? So I really like that concept. They're coming up with some pretty innovative stuff. Also, the type and the amount of fill inside the bag is going to have a big impact. Equally important, probably the most overlooked, your own body's temperature. Sleeping bags do not generate heat. Sleeping bags trap heat. You're not getting a good night's sleep, even in a properly rated bag, it's because you're not giving that bag a fighting chance. So we can fix that before you dive in for the night. Big chocolate bar, something fatty, high-calorie food. Throw it in there, give your body a chance to burn some calories, put off some heat, and give that bag a fighting chance. I'm happy to see more and more manufacturers utilizing standardized testing. EN 13537, European norm test has come over. However, that test is only conducted on fully insulated mummy-shaped bags. So if your bag doesn't meet that criteria, or your manufacturer is not yet using that test, you're kind of stuck trusting the manufacturer's testing. They all do it a different way. Some say you need hats and gloves and base layer top and bottom as part of the equation. Some don't. So all sorts of confusion out there. My suggestion, look at that forecast. Know the low you're going to hit. Take about 10 degrees off of that. Get a bag rated somewhere in there and you'll be confident that you're going to be comfortable.
Right, and then when it comes to fill materials, what's inside the bag, we pretty much have two options. We've got down or synthetic. Now down is very warm for its weight and it's super compressible, which is fantastic until it gets wet. If you use down, you definitely need to protect it because when down gets wet, it collapses on itself and it closes all those tiny air pockets that would normally trap your body heat. We say all the time, in mild conditions, this will affect your comfort, and in very cold conditions, it could become dangerous. But fortunately for all of us, the U.S. military actually had the same exact problem, and back in the early 1980s, they actually contracted a company to duplicate down, but have it continue to function even when wet. And today in the outdoor industry, we actually know that as Primaloft. And what they do, they use tiny synthetic hydrophobic microfibers in a variety of unique configurations to insulate everything from hats to gloves to clothing to footwear, and in this case, sleeping bags. It is the softest, lightest, most compressible insulation available to us, and for us, it's all about peace of mind. We know we're going to be warm in this bag if it's dry. We know if this bag gets totally saturated, it's going to keep us insulated. Now this time of the year, this part of the country, we actually camped out at Saltwater Lake State Park last night. It was a beautiful night's sleep, other than the airplane traffic going overhead, but it was still a nice night's sleep. We were both in these Velocity 35-degree rated bags. You're getting a combination of Primaloft 1 and Primaloft Sport, which means you're going to get a lightweight, very compressible bag. My bag, this is the women's regular, 1 pound 11 ounces. Randy has the men's long packed away, 1 pound 15 ounces.
That's right, we'll pack this away in the bottom of the pack. Go ahead and start building up this platform, get our heavier items higher up between our shoulder blades. Now, we recognize you can go east, west, north, south from here and put yourself in a different environment very quickly. You guys in the Seattle area have access to a lot of great terrain. And in the same day, in the same hour, you can have very big variations in temperatures and conditions. And so it would get really expensive if we came in here and told you, well, go out and buy a sleeping bag for every 5 or 10 degrees that you're going to face and you'll be fine. Well, we recognize that. So we want to offer you a bag and a half option. I love these sleeping bag liners for that reason. See, this one makes a series of what they call their reactor liners here. And for 9 ounces, I now have the ability with this reactor to add up to 14 degrees to the temperature rating of my sleeping bag when I use this in conjunction with my bag. Great multi-use item in that. Also have one that can do 20, another that can do 25 degrees to your sleeping bag. This is also going to save that expensive sleeping bag because now this being on the inside, this is going to catch all the dirt and grime and soils and sweats that you pick up on a backpacking trip. Get home, pull it out, machine washable. Top load, front load, doesn't matter. Unlike our sleeping bags, which are much easier, harder to clean. And we have clean sheets for our backcountry bed every time we go out. Those of you that are the day hikers, 9 ounces in your day pack is a great addition when now you find yourself in a situation where you need a little additional insulation, an emergency situation. Boom, there you go. For those of you that are adventure traveling, 9 ounces to your luggage is not going to put you over the 50-pound mark, right? And you can get to those economy huts or hostels or even those economy hotels and know who's been sleeping on the sheets, right? Right. So definitely a good versatile piece of gear for sure.
Right, so Randy went ahead and the first thing he packed away in that pack is his sleeping bag. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, we don't plan to use it until the end of the day when we get to camp. And two, it allows us to start to create a platform in that pack to get our heavier items higher up on our backs, closer to our shoulder blades, right where we want them to distribute the weight evenly on our backs. Now, the air contact pack there, you can see it has a separate access point, so it allows us to store our sleeping bag, second part of our sleep system, our sleeping pad, in a completely separate compartment. Now, when it comes down to the decisions of your sleeping pads, these are definitely going to come down to the trade-offs of weight, comfort, and convenience for you. You've got foam pads, inflatable pads, and then in the case of these Nemo pads, a combination of foam and air. If we're going out for some lightweight backpacking, probably going this route. I've got the 10-ounce Nemo Zor Short and the 14-ounce Zor Long. Love these pads. One, you can see how small they compress when we're not using them, so they don't take up a lot of space in our pack. If you've ever blown up an inflatable pad, this is my my favorite part. 3 little puffs to blow up, 6 little puffs to blow up, and you're done, which to me is priceless at the end of the day. Now, maybe you want to step up your cushion a little bit here. I've got a little more cushion under your hips. This is the Big Agnes dual core pad. This is actually fully insulated air core pad. It's got Primaloft running all the way through it, so good option if you want an inflatable pad in cold conditions. And then maybe you want to customize how much cushion you have under your hips. The 2.0 standard here actually has 2 separate air chambers, so you can actually adjust the air in the bottom chamber separately from that in the top chamber. So if you're on some rocky ground, you can really beef up the bottom chamber, maybe a little air, let a little air out of the top, and really customize your comfort. And then for all of you folks that say you like to go home and sleep in your own bed at the end of the night, you might have the solution. Although I just opened the valve to it. I have the solution to all of your camping needs in the outdoors. This is probably the Mac Daddy of all sleeping pads. This is the Cosmo with memory foam pillow top. So about 4 inches thick. And the beautiful thing about this, it is an inflatable pad. The Nemo got really inventive in that they actually put a foot pump incorporated into the pad. So you don't have to blow this up. You can let your foot do all the work. And if you're going to go that route, you might as well add a memory foam pillow to your kit as well. So I invite y'all to lay on this when we're done tonight. Very comfortable option.
So as we said, it's about options. We've got ultralight, we've got ultra-luxe, right? You can go from really lightweight to really comfy and cushioned. It's really about choosing a style that's going to allow you to hike your thing. Now, we talk about the idea that both this sleeping bag and pad are in dry sacks. Really important to keep your gear dry. Sheri and I are firm believers in keeping our gear dry. Biggest reason, wet gear is heavy gear. Who wants to carry around extra water weight, right? If your gear gets wet, you can literally be adding pounds to your backpacking setup. I'd rather add ounces and know that it's going to be protected. When it comes to the sleeping bag, evac dry sacks. This little yellow panel here, an event material, air permeable, waterproof. So I can actually compress all the air out of the sleeping bag. I don't have a big balloon of a dry sack that I have to pack away. So love the fact that we have bags designed for specific reasons. Also love the idea of pack covers. The air contact here does come with its own pack cover. However, that's really not going to be a 100% moisture barrier. It's really going to do more of protecting the pack from dirt and grime. If I'm looking for that moisture barrier, I much prefer something like a pack liner here. See, someone makes these great for a pack like the ACT Zero because you can put this inside the top loading design. You still have access to all the volume inside the pack, but when you're done packing, you can create a complete moisture barrier by closing off the lid here. Now, what I also love about this is a great multi-use item. This is something that at the end of the day, you pull it out of your pack. You put your pack in it, you put your boots in it, you put anything in it that you don't want taking up space in some of those smaller tents. Set it outside the tent, in the vestibule, or even right outside, because it's going to be protected from any and all conditions that come its way. This is also a great way to store your food because of this great little clip system. Put all your food supplies in here. When you hang it away on your bare cables or your bare hangs, now everything inside is protected from the conditions as well. So definitely love anytime we can find one item that can do multiple things in the backpacking world. That's a good thing, right?
Right, so in addition to our sleep system, our essential insulation system is also going to include our footwear choices and all of our clothing layers. And when it comes to our clothing, we always separate our clothes into 2 sets, and we call them a wet or a sacrifice set and a dry or a sacred set. Now that wet or that sacrifice set, everything we're hiking in, sweating in, getting rained on in, that dry or that sacred set is a set of clothes we keep dry and protected no matter what, for either when we stop moving at the end of the day, or we find ourselves in a situation where we are so cold and wet we have to stop moving. That dry or sacred set always gives us the ability to get warm and dry.
Once again, we're going to focus on the weather forecast, but we're still only bringing 2 sets of clothes. We're going to keep them in a rotation. Packing way too many layers is a common mistake that can really overload your pack. You need the right amount, but not too many. When we pack, think about the dry set, the sacred set, as Sheri said, we're going to pack that with our sleeping system down here in the bottom of the pack. 1, because we have room to do so, but 2, because we're hoping we don't need those until a camp environment, and those are really designed to keep us warm through the night. Wet set of clothes. These are going to be on our body when we hit the trailhead, but today we're showing you a total backpacking weight. People oftentimes talk weight, and they say, well, my pack weighs like 16 pounds, and I say, well, how about your socks and your shoes and your clothes and your hat and your glasses? And they go, oh, yeah, I didn't really think about that. But yeah, your body's carrying all of that stuff too, right? So we want to make sure that we're talking about everything you have with you as far as the weight goes. So even the wet set of clothes going in the pack. Now, when we think about the types of layers within those sets, we do think about layering because we want to be able to add and remove layers. It's important that we have trail-ready clothes. And what do we think about trail-ready clothes? It's the functionality, the construction, the materials. I'm going to give you some examples. I've got kind of a mannequin dressed over here. If you can, Sherry, play Vanna White for me there. The base layer, the next to skin layer, that's a layer that we want touching our skin. It has to be snug. Not tight, but snug. Because if it's not touching your skin, it doesn't have the ability to wick moisture away. So these are layers that we want to be wicking. We want to be quick drying. We also love the fact that there's some companies incorporating things like Aegeon Active. So this is Woolrich's polymerino layer here, 50% polyester, 50% merino wool. So now you're talking about the best of both worlds as far as the materials go, and then you get a quick drying, wicking material in the poly, you get the natural insulating ability of the wool, put the two together, and then incorporate Aegeon Active. It's an antimicrobial silver ion treatment. Anti-odor, right? If you're just a solo hiker, no big deal. But if you have a hiking partner, they're going to appreciate you thinking about them in that way. Now, this shirt also does not have a single seam down the shoulder line. Well, why wouldn't we care about that? Well, I'm going to have a backpack sitting there with weight, right? So why would I want an irritating rub under my shoulder? So the construction can really improve your comfort as well. So it's important to choose layers designed specifically for your activity.
Right, we look at, this is pretty much Randy's layering kit. This is usually what he goes out with on most trips. We do trade out the insulating layer, obviously depending on the weather. So when it comes to the bottom base layer, he usually goes the convertible route. He's got shorts when he wants them, pants when he needs them. Materials in your clothing are definitely going to affect your comfort. Those pants are made out of a nylon polyester blend, which means they're going to be quick drying and very lightweight. I also have a sport and a pair of shorts that I utilize a lot during this time of the year in the summer months. These are made out of a reflex stretch technology. What that is, it's just a polyester spandex blend, but you can see it's a really stretchy fabric, so it's comfortable when you're being active. Also helps the garment maintain its shape, which is great if you're spending multiple days out there. If I am going to go with the sport or the short route, I'm going to throw in a pair of gaiters as well. I'm going to keep the dirt out of my socks, keep the poison ivy off my ankles.
And the next type of layer we're continuing to work out is going to be something that can trap a warm layer of air close to our bodies. So we need to think about insulating layers. And it can be lightweight fleece layers, depending upon, once again, where you're going, what the forecast is. Some type of trailhead fleece here. This is something that I won't pack with the rest of my clothes, and that these layers are something that I'm going to add and remove as my activity level and the conditions are changing out there. So I'm going to wait and have those easily accessible, right on top of the pack, maybe even strapped on the outside, depending upon the weather outside. So right when I stop, I can add them, and when I get going again, just simply put them right back where I left off. Could be that I need heavier weight items. We have some other options back here. Heavier weight fleece layers, insulated jackets. The jacket that we have with that kit there is a down insulated jacket. It's packable, so it gets really, really small and lightweight. Really could take one of these layers, could take multiple of these layers. It's all about deciding what's best for you. How many of you out there have the first thing to go cold is your extremities, your fingers and your toes? Always get cold first, right? A lot of you. And so, the ladies often. So my suggestion there, think about adding a vest to your kit. The vest similar to I have on here is the Vector vest here that Woolrich makes, designed to be wind and water resistant so that it's going to help keep core warmth. And when your fingers and toes get cold, it's because your body is pulling all of that circulation away from them to your core. Build up the heat in your core, your hands and your toes will be warmer. So think about adding something like a vest if you have that issue often out there on the trip.
And then the last layer we're going to think about is an outer shell layer. Obviously we want this layer to keep the wet out. We also want to think about it letting some of that moisture out from the inside as well, which is another reason you want to really look at the fabrics. This rain jacket Randy has here, it's made out of a Hydromax Ultra, and it's a membrane fabric, similar to that dry sack he showed you that he could compress the air out. Same type of membrane fabric used in this rain shell, which really allows some of that moisture on the inside to get to the outside. And then we are also going to think about adding a warm hat and a pair of gloves to our kits. Doesn't matter what time of the year it is, you're going to find these as part of our dry set. During our hike across the U.S., we spent the entire month of August walking across the state of Kansas. You can only imagine how hot it was. But if you opened up our dry sets, you would still find a warm hat and a warm pair of gloves. And because these items are going to be exposed to the elements, you need to think about what's inside that's going to continue to function when wet. So that same synthetic Primaloft insulation that's in our sleeping bags, you're going to find it in all of our hats and gloves as well.
That's right. There's a small piece of that insulation floating around. Just put it in the palm of your hand for a few seconds. You'll actually feel it trapping the heat coming off your body. So it speaks for itself pretty well. Now, we also, before we move away from the idea of clothing and insulation, really important that we give you all the information that you possibly need. And a lot of times that information is hidden. I'll give you a great example of that, and it's the hang tags on the clothes. And if Sherry grabs one of the layers that we have here, the mountain parka, you'll see about 5, 6, 7 hang tags on the front of this thing. And sometimes, yeah, they're obvious. The manufacturer's going to put theirs on there, right? But then sometimes the information can be slightly hidden. And there's one tag on here that actually says repel in the upper corner. And you say, well, what does that mean? And if you didn't know what this tag meant, this Teflon fabric protector, you'd have no way of knowing that this jacket's been treated with a material that's going to allow it to dry about 40% faster. It's going to keep it oil and water-based stains at bay. Even dust, dirt, and soil can't penetrate because of this treatment. But it doesn't change the look or the feel of the fabric. You have no way of knowing that unless you walked around the store spilling your soda on everything. And that can get expensive pretty fast. If you break it, you buy a store policy, right? But we'll give you that example real quick. Sherry's got some pretty gnarly soda here. Just pour it on, you know, and you guys up front can see it just rolls around. It doesn't soak in. If I can hit the cup here, it'll roll right off. There we go. And so you can't even tell that the soda was there when the process is done. And the beauty of that is the fact that we have this type of technology. If you don't know it exists or you don't know what that hang tag means, once again, the people who work here live and love this stuff. They've been trained on this stuff. They know what that means. And if you don't, you're not getting all the information. If you're comparing two products, and this could make or break the difference between the product that is going to give you a better time on the trail, make sure you're asking for all the information that you can possibly get and looking for hang tags. Hanging off the products is one of those great clues to the performance upgrades that you're going to get all of. Now, the next part of our insulation system, when we think about putting all of these layers together to keep us warm and comfortable out there, is going to be our footwear choices. When we think about footwear, once again, a layering system. Next to skin layer, protective layer. That next to skin layer, your socks, critical piece of gear in that they need to keep your feet as dry as possible. I say as possible because your feet are going to get wet backpacking, whether it be from sweat or walking right through water. You can just count on your feet getting wet. So you need materials that are going to continue to insulate when wet. So I love the fact that the Superior hiking sock here is a merino wool sock that also incorporates a little bit of spandex and a little bit of nylon. Why are those other ingredient fabrics so important? They help that sock maintain its shape. Wet sock's going to do what? Stretch out, bunch up, cause blisters. So now I have the ability to keep the sock maintaining its shape. So I love that. I'm going to bring 3 pairs of socks on every trip I take, whether it be a weekend, week-long, month-long. Doesn't matter. 3 is the magic number, no more, no less. In that I have 1 pair that can always be dry and warm. Part of that dry set for at the end of the day. You need comfortable feet around camp. But then you also have 2 additional pairs that you can rotate throughout the day as your feet get wet, so as to keep them as dry as you possibly can, hoping to once again reduce blisters and improve comfort. Happy feet, happy hiking.
Right, and if you are in the market for a new pair of shoes, we always recommend get your socks for your adventure first, bring those into the retailer, try your shoes on with the socks that you plan to wear, and come in here this time of the day, at the end of the day, when your feet are typically swollen from being on them all day. You spend a few miles out on trail, your feet are going to swell, you need room in your shoes to accommodate. Now, when it comes to your footwear choices, really important to recognize a couple of things. One, you definitely want to get a shoe specific to your activity, and you surely want to make sure you get a good fit. Now, I will tell you that the first step that manufacturers take when they build a shoe is they actually build a last. And a last is essentially the mold of a foot. And they use different lasts so they can accommodate different sizes, shapes of feet. And if you ever wondered why one shoe manufacturer's footwear fits you a lot different than the other, that's why. They all use different lasts. And believe it or not, the last process that takes place before they box this shoe up, they pull that last out because they've actually built the entire shoe around it. I'll give you a couple of examples of some shoes built on different lasts. This is the Bass Palace. You might recognize this. It was reviewed in last month's backpacker issue as a great lightweight all leather option. This is built on a perpetual last. What that means is it's a straighter last designed for the continuous motions that slightly flatten out our feet. You've got a narrow heel cup to lock your foot in place, roomier toe box to accommodate that swelling, add to it a Vibram sole, and you've got optimal protection. Great option for long, steady endeavors. And I'll show you a couple of Randy and I's personal favorites. This is what we like to call his hero shoe. On our walk across the U.S., 5 of the 9 pairs of shoes that it took him to go from one ocean to the other were actually in this Vast Velocity. And then this is the Vast Breeze 2.0. And we're actually kind of just teasing you with this model because it's not launched yet. The Vast Breeze is on the shelves, but Vast actually took the #1 selling performance boot in the U.S., made it into a 2.0 version in that they actually made it lighter, shockingly. So REI has first rights to this. They're going to launch it in December. Everybody else gets it in January, so keep your eyes peeled. But the difference with these 2 options compared to the first I showed you is the last that they're built on. Built on an arc tempo last, and what that means is it's got an asymmetrical curve in it, so it puts your foot in a more powerful position during toe off. It creates more of a toe spring effect, which is great if you like to be light on your feet. And this shoe, the Velocity, we say, perfect marriage between some of the beefed up construction of these boots and the lightweight breathability of a trail runner. So you've got a light load, want to hop around, this is definitely a good option. And then when it comes to fit, we always recommend come into the retailer, pull out the insole, take your sock off, and stand on it. The more similar the shape of your foot is to that insole, the better chance you're going to get a good fit. And the last thing we'll say is don't ever be talked into buying an uncomfortable shoe. Yes, some shoes do take some time to break in, but they should start comfortable in this store. They should get more comfortable the more miles that you put on them. Now, obviously, if we're heading out the door, we're heading to the trailhead, our footwear choices are going to be on our feet, but since we're going to give you a total backpacking weight, Randy has a size 10.5 boot there, tucked away in that little boot bag. We're going to go ahead and pack it away next to continue to build that platform to get our heaviest items higher up on our backs.
Part of the beauty of these higher volume packs, you can really get a lot of stuff in there. If you're traveling, you're going to be doing some hiking as part of your other travels, you can really get a full kit in here. So we love that aspect. Now, obviously, we're trying to stay insulated. We're trying to protect ourselves from whatever Mother Nature can throw our way. It's one thing to be able to do that. It's another thing to be able to get out of those conditions, which brings us to our next essential need, and that's our essential need to have the ability to make and or bring along shelter. It is really important that we stay sheltered out there. And when it comes to your shelter options, there are definitely a lot of options out there, and you really need to consider a number of factors to make sure that the shelter is going to work properly for you. One, your own personal comfort threshold. I promise you there are probably some shelters some of you would sleep in that I would think you're crazy for doing, and maybe vice versa. But the weather and the terrain can have a big impact on the shelter choices as well. Weather, obviously, are you going into snow? That's really going to dictate snow and ice. You're going to need a 4-season shelter, something designed to bear the weight of snow and ice. It's going to be constructed a little differently to be able to do that. Most of us can get away with a 3-season shelter, something that has more breathability, a little lighter weight, not as nearly a beefy of a construction. But then when we think about the terrain, this is where we really need to compare and contrast different styles of tents. We've got a number of tents here, and I want to kind of do that through these tents. In that, the first we're going to show you is the OB2P from Nemo here. This is a 2-person, 3-season shelter that has a total weight stakes in all 3 total pounds. So you're talking about some really lightweight tents these days. What I love about the features in this tent is a double wall. So what is double wall versus single wall? Well, double wall, we have an internal layer of no-see-um mesh here, great for stargazing and good breeze. When you need the wind and water protection, notice in the picture here, a secondary layer of nylon that can be added over the top. Single wall design, like the Meta that we have over here. As you can see, one single layer of waterproof breathable nylon, all the ventilation's on the sides, so different contrasting styles of tents. Also the difference here, freestanding, non-freestanding. So the Adobe, once you saw there, Sherry can pick it up and move it wherever she wants. The non-freestanding Meta has to be staked out to create the structural support. So there's definitely trade-offs as far as what type of terrain you go into. If you're going to Yosemite or New Hampshire and into the Whites and you're sleeping on a bed of granite, the staking out thing might not work too well, right? So you really need to think about the terrain that you're going into. Now, the shelter that we have with us tonight that we're going to pack in this kit is actually called the Go-Go Elite. This is a really lightweight, minimalist, Bivy-style shelter. It's 1 pound, 8 ounces. So those of you trying to go really lightweight, we think about some of the innovations that we're seeing in shelters these days. The picture that you see here, that rigid kind of beam over the top, no poles at all. It's an air support technology. You actually blow it up like an inner tube of a tire, and it creates the structural support you need. So that's how they're able to keep a tent like this so light and so compact, because of that option. Now, a couple of other creative ideas of the Meta that we talked about, this free, non-freestanding single wall tent. Once again, a really lightweight structure because, see the pole support system? It's trekking poles. If you notice the way it's set up there, that's a set of trekking poles, and you're going to use trekking poles out on trail anyway for your on-trail support of your knees and circulation. And then they're either going to lay on the ground at night, or you're going to incorporate them into something like your shelter. So once again, a great multi-use item. So a lot of things to consider, but definitely a lot of great options and lightweight options out there. That Meta, for instance, 2-person tent, you can see it's almost double the size of the Yogi, but it's 2 pounds, 15 ounces. Really lightweight stuff because it's non-freestanding, because it's single wall, because it's using trekking poles, right? So we've got all these things that kind of add up to really lightweight.
Right. We say all the time, carrying one shelter for multiple people is definitely a great way to cut down on everybody's pack weight, but shelter is an essential, so you want to make sure everybody has some form of a shelter on them. We're carrying the Obi, the double wall tent. A lot of times I'll pack out the tent body. Randy will carry the tent fly. We carry that Meta quite a bit at just over 2 pounds, so one of us will pack out the total weight of it, and then the other will actually pack a multi-use piece of gear that could function as a shelter. And Cedar Summit's poncho tarp is a perfect example of that. This time of the year, this part of the country, I probably will leave my rain jacket and my carry just the poncho tarp as my rain protection. Also going to ditch the pack cover to my pack because this is large enough to fit my pack under it as well. And then if I needed to, for just a couple of ounces, I could pitch this out and use it as a shelter in an emergency situation as well. So for 12 ounces, got a really great multi-use piece of gear here. And you notice, Randy packed away that Go-Go Elite, his shelter next, because the last two items that we're going to pack inside that pack are our heaviest items, and they're exactly where we want them in our pack, high up and close to our shoulder blades.
That's right. When we talk about the heaviest items that we're carrying with us as far as our starting weight goes, typically they're not only essentials to backpacking, but they're necessities of life. Your food and your water are really going to add up to some weight. And the reason being, when you talk about water, you're looking at 2 pounds, 3 ounces per liter, and you really need to be drinking a lot of water. You're burning a lot of calories, you're sweating a lot, you need to stay hydrated out there. So we say to everybody, start with at least a liter of water, know where the next water supply is going to be. Once again, that pre-hike research, knowing your destination. Where's the next water? How far to the next water after that? That'll help you determine how much storage space you need for water. We like to store water in a variety of ways, one of which are hydration bladders. Big fan of the hydration bladder in that now I can have a 2 or 3 liter bladder that's right down my spine, right in the sleeve in the pack, right where I want the heavier weight items to be. Going to be a great way to carry water, and then I have a hose that comes out. I drink hands-free on the move. So we find we stay hydrated well that way. However, I'm not going to put all my faith into these because if this were to pop or puncture, then what do you do? So I always like to have a backup. Could carry some large, hard-sided bottles around. That is an option. There's some benefits to that at certain times of the year, but 4 of those bottles for 4 liters of water versus a pack tap that packs down to this for 4 liters of water is a big space trade-off, right? So I'm a big fan of these pack taps. From Sea to Summit, have mylar bladders on the inside, similar to those that you see, those of you that have had a box of wine, right? Which makes Sherry go, sweet, multi-use item, right? Because you can have some wine too. Great way to carry a large amount of water, 2, 4, 6, or 10 liter options. So if you have larger distances between resupply, you can really carry a lot of water with you. When you don't need that extra water, they pack away to very lightweight and compressible options. So definitely like to have one of these with me. Also like to have the ability to bring a large amount of water back from the source. A lot of times the beautiful camp spots might be high up on the ridge line, the water supply might be down off the ridge line. Don't want to have to go back and forth. So for 2.6 ounces, we have a freestanding folding bucket. Fill it up with 10 liters of water, carry it back to camp, set it down. It's going to stand on its own. As the sediment settles out, you can pull clean water off the top for your cooking and filtering needs. Maybe you're saying 2.6 ounces, that's too heavy for me. Well, let's give you a lighter weight option. How about a 0.8 of an ounce option, right? Same 10 liter full bucket. However, when we talk about weight, we obviously, if we're going to reduce weight, we're probably going to lose the comfort or convenience as well, right? They're all connected. So we do lose the convenience of freestanding. So now I can bring 10 liters back, distribute it to my bladder, Sherry's bladder, our cooking stove. We have enough water for that night, the next morning start up all in one trip to the source in a very lightweight option. So there's always ways to go lighter. There's always some ways to go more convenient.
And it's also critical our water is safe to drink. We say all the time, really no research required with this step. We recommend treating any and all water that you plan to drink. Trust me, I shared a tent this size with a guy suffering the effects of giardia. You do not want to look, you don't want to feel, you don't want to smell, anything like that.
She always throws the smell in there. I don't understand that. It's a great diet plan, I say all the time. Lost like 13 pounds in 3 days, but it was 13 pounds in all directions, so I don't wish it upon anyone. So please treat your water.
Yes, and there's lots of methods to treat your water. Obviously, boiling your water works, but every time you need to resupply, boiling might not be the most effective or efficient system. Chemical treatments work, but they do take some time to become effective. Pump filters, we have definitely had our fair share of those, but boy, can they be a lot of work down at the source pumping away. And then UV devices have become a very popular option, but they do require batteries. So you want to make sure you always carry some backup batteries with you. Now, there is no doubt that technology has really changed the game for us in the outdoor industry when it comes to lightweight water filtration. And we now have an option that weighs, believe it or not, less than 3 ounces, and it was actually developed with 0.1 micron absolute hollow fiber technology. And believe it or not, this technology was originally developed in the medical field to clean blood, and they figured if we can clean blood, we surely can clean water. This was an Editor's Choice Award this year. This is the Sawyer squeeze bag system, probably the most versatile system we've ever used. I'll show you the different methods how you can use this filter. Comes with reusable bags. All you have to do when you fill up the bags, go down to the source, fill up with water, screw on the top, open the top of the filter, and drink. No pumping required. You can also find any standard size water bottle and screw the filter right onto the top. This This is great if you're doing some adventure traveling. You don't want to buy water every time. You can refill, drink right out of the bottle. And then because we do use the bladder system, we've got some adapters where you can actually cut the line of any hydration bladder and actually put this filter in the line of it. So now all you have to do is go down to the source, fill up your bladder, and move on. As fast as you're drinking, water's being filtered on the way to your mouth. Now here's the kicker with these filters, no one ever believes us. So this is about a $60 retail value, and it comes with a 1 million gallon guarantee. No cartridges, nothing you ever have to replace with this filter. So we say all the time, you buy this today, use it for the rest of your life. When you're done, pass it down to your kids. When they're done, pass it down to their kids.
It's a backpacking heirloom. How great is that?
It is. You can't drink 1 million gallons of water. So technology definitely changed the game for us with lightweight water filtration, without a doubt.
Now, when we think about those necessities of life, yes, water is heavy, but it could actually seem quite light when you start thinking about your food supplies. It's really important that we have proper nutrition, activity-specific nutrition out there on trail. When we're trying to eat between 2,500 and 4,000 calories of food per person per day, depending upon the activity and how rigorous we're being, you're looking at about 2 pounds of food per person per day. It's very difficult to do it for much less than that. So weekend trip, 4 pounds easy. Week-long trip, you could have 14 pounds of food just as a starting weight. So it's really important that we put that weight in the right place, which is why this one cavity is left here, center between our shoulder blades, high on our back, right where we want the load to be nice and balanced as we're out there hiking about. Now, when we think about storing our food, really important to note here, we do like storing our food in with the rest of our gear because that makes this double as a go kit. We find ourselves in an emergency situation, regardless of where we are, be it an urban environment. We need to get out, we grab this and we go. We know that everything in here has been designed to allow us to be self-reliant, including having a minimum of about 8,000 calories of food. So I do have 8,000 calories of food in here. Now, some people say, well, if you put your food in with your gear, everything's going to smell like food. And it could, or it would, if it weren't for things like OpSacs. So we're big fans of these as well. They're called OpSacs. Locksack makes these. They're odor-proof barrier bags. The Navy experimental dive teams have tested these guys. All the odors inside are staying inside. Nothing's getting outside. So not only are they great for storing my food in with my gear, they're also great for packing out in the field because now I don't have to worry as much about those opportunistic little animals and opportunistic big animals. I tell you what, a bear or a mouse, either one of them gets to your food, your trip's going to be wrecked anyway, right? So let's keep them all from knowing where it is by keeping the odors away. So I do like that for sure. Now when it comes to storing your food out there on trail, may require some areas hard-sided food storage containers. Some areas, this might be a more convenient option. You get up into some places like the Enchantment Lakes, you've got these alpine environments. It's hard to find trees to hang food supplies from. So having buckets like that you can just sit off in the rocks is a much more convenient option. So once again, research your destination. Know what you need. You get to a place like Yosemite, they're going to make you show it to them before they let you in the backcountry. They're going to demand that you have one of these with you. So really important that you know the specifics of your destination in that regard. If we're not using those, we are bringing 50 feet of parachute cord, we are bringing some type of bag, be it a pack liner or another dry sack, to be able to store our food away properly. Now when it comes to the types of foods that we're carrying, we're certainly going to have food with us that we enjoy the taste of. That's something that's going to keep you, replenished and refreshed. But we also want to make sure that we have the appropriate types of foods when it comes to maintaining our energy out there. We need about 50% of our food to come in the form of carbohydrates, because that's really going to allow us to sustain our energy over multiple days. Healthy fats, about 25% of our food's there. That's going to fuel our bodies. We're going to need proteins to recover quickly, and then some simple sugars for the bursts of energy that you need. You've got these long uphill stretches or a steep climb coming, so we can really be specific with our nutrition choices. You can do a lot of work, a lot of energy put into finding the exact types of calories you need. We do think about some power foods in the backpacking world. We've got some of them listed here, the brown rices and whole pastas, the nuts and almonds, chocolates and raisins, those kinds of things. It's also easy to find some of those that are pre-packaged for you. REI is not a grocery store, but I guarantee you can find Mojo bars in here, right? The all-natural trail mix bars. So don't overthink it. It's called trail mix for a reason, right? It's going to have a lot of these foods incorporated right into it. So Sherry's got a couple of the Mojo options over here. 8 to 9 grams of protein per bar. Just what you need. You're looking at 200 calories per bar, 1.6 ounces per bar. You do the math, it's 125 calories per ounce, the exact number you need if you want 4,000 calories to weigh in at just 2 pounds. So somebody's done all the thinking for you. Now all we have to do is just make sure we incorporate some of this into our diet when we're out there on the trail.
Right. We are pretty simplistic chefs. We do a lot of bars. We do normally carry some dehydrated meals. We do like to have a hot meal at some point in the day, which means we also need to pack out a stove with us. Traveling with a couple of good options this year that really allows us to choose the best stove for our destination. We'll show you a couple of them. Editor's Choice winner this year. This is the MSR Whisperlight Universal. Very versatile stove that I can cook with different fuels. So right now you can see I've got it hooked up to a fuel canister. but I could also use the refillable bottle. I can do white gas, I can do kerosene, I can actually go to the gas station and do unleaded gasoline if I needed to as well. So very versatile in that regard. You're looking at a minimum pack weight of 9.1 ounces plus fuel. So there's obviously lighter options, but obviously there's going to be trade-offs. I'm a big fan. I like the jet boil system. I usually do boil some water in the morning for some instant coffee. Very efficient integrated system. And then the stove that Randy has in that kit is the Sono micro-regulator. This was an editor's choice winner a couple of years ago from our editorial staff. 2.6 ounces, super tiny stove. You could pack it away in your pocket if you wanted. But with the jet boil and the Sono, you are limited to just canister fuel. And then another option, one of the perks of this job is we get to travel the country and actually see a lot of homemade gear. And I think one of the pieces that we see most often is little homemade denatured alcohol stoves. Definitely as light as you can get for sure, but a lot of times your burn and your boil times are going to be a lot less efficient. So we say all the time with your stove choices, it's great to have options, but it's even more important to know the trade-offs between each option, especially if you need to consider if you're out there for multiple weeks or days, what your resupply is going to be out there in the field.
Now when it comes to your camp kitchen, there are definitely some ways that you can save some weight here. If you're hiking with a partner, yes, we need the essentials on each of us, but things that are non-essential. Think about sharing one cook pot large enough for both of you. This is the dualist here that allows us to have one cook pot, one utensil apiece. We can share an intimate meal together with one cook stove and really save some weight that way. So there's some great ways to save some ounces, if not pounds. We talked about the Teflon fabric protector. Most of you know Teflon in the coatings, right? So you've got the dualist here has a Teflon coating, scratch resistant, cleans really easily. So definitely like looking for, once again, performance upgrades like that. The cutlery, this is Alpha Light cutlery. See, this makes this stuff. I love when a company recognizes a direct need and then comes up with a product to match it. Check out the long spoon, right? How many of you have got just dirty knuckles diving into those food bags, right? So they said, let's fix that. So they give you a spoon that can fit to the bottom. So I love that. Lighter and stronger than titanium. We talk weight, comfort, and convenience a lot in the backpacking world. The fourth one, that's the reality, though, is cost, right? We always need to recognize cost. About half the cost of titanium, if not even cheaper. I think you can get a 3-piece kit for about $14. So definitely love that. Those of you that are into the gourmet camp kitchen scene, there's plenty of options out there. Packable plates, bowls, mugs, cups, and yes, even packable shot glasses, I kid you not. The great thing about all of these is that they pack completely flat, so that not only are they worried about weight in our packs, but worried about space in our packs as well. So you can really pack out the full kitchen, including the kitchen sink, which is where the leave no trace message comes in. We've got kitchen sink here. It's an ultra-sil, very lightweight, something that allows you to go down to the source, pull about 5 liters of water away from the source to do all your camp cleanup, so we're not polluting these beautiful places that we're spending our time in. If you can walk away and say, look, I can't even tell I was there, that's a good thing, right? So we always need to think about that. Included with that, I would pack out some wilderness wash, biodegradable, fragrance-free. We're always thinking about having as minimal an impact as we possibly can while we're out in the wild.
Right, so at this point in time, with the process of packing this pack, Randy's got the water and the food tucked away, and then he's going to go ahead and pack away the one insulating layer that he left out and both the shell layers, pack them right on top of the pack, and then close it up, because the last couple of items that are left in this bin are all going to be stored in the outside compartments of our pack. And we really try to be strategic with our packing so items are easily accessible. And I think a perfect example of that is where we store our first aid kits. We store these in the front of the lid of our packs. That way, if we were to take a fall, we could still easily access these without taking our packs off. First aid is an essential. You need to make sure you have a kit with you, know what's inside, know how to use it, make sure you have enough supplies for the duration of your trip. Also want to think about personal hygiene needs out there. Randy has a small dry stack. We call that our little bathroom kit. Inside, we've got toilet paper. We have some empty Ziploc bags to pack out our used toilet paper. A very lightweight pocket trowel that used to be called the iPood, but Apple didn't like that anymore, so we can't call it the iPood. But very lightweight packable trowel to dig cat holes with. And then the same odor-proof sacks that we use for our food supplies. That used toilet paper that we pack out, this is an op sack as well. We throw all the used toilet paper in there as well. We don't have to look at it or think about it again. And then when it comes to soap, Randy mentioned the wilderness wash. I'm a big fan of Sea to Summit's pocket leaflets. These are great. You get 50 dry leaflets of biodegradable soap. Take a little leaflet out, add water to it, you have suds. When they started making these, they first offered just a wilderness wash, but they've had so much success, you now can get body wash, shampoo, conditioner, shaving cream, laundry wash. So if you're doing some adventure traveling, you can really pack out your whole kit. And these aren't liquid, so you can go right through in your carry-on bag like right through security at the airport and fly right on with them. So lots of good options.
So some of the options that we're considering are going to take a little research, knowing your destination. Others are going to be rather self-explanatory. For instance, if you're going outside overnight, it's going to get dark. Probably not a bad idea to bring some light into the night in the backcountry, right? So illumination is our next essential need. When it comes to illumination, there's a lot of creative and useful items out there these days. Think about all the big lanterns and fuel that we used to have in even our car camping environments. We've traded those all out, much more efficient. We've got these 60 LED cordless rechargeable light bars. Cobra makes these things. We've got a number of products from Cobra actually that we travel with, and from an adventure travel standpoint. Sure, if you pull the box out of the back there, Sherry jokingly calls this her 12th essential need. And that, it's not only a power inverter box, so we actually can have power in the background to recharge things and run our laptops and everything else. But this is actually a jump starter for your car. It's got an air compressor in it. You get back to the trailhead, that's the worst feeling ever, right? Especially some of these remote trailheads. So having something like this just stowed in the trunk is a great add-on to any backpacking kit. So now, but when it comes to the lightweight options out on the trail, big fan of a headlamp. Hands-free lighting is the way to go. Love this lamp. It's called the Snow Peak Snow Miner. This is an Editor's Choice Award winner from the magazine this year. Get an 80 lumen, very bright beam of light, which I need for on-trail use. If I want a lighter beam, I can go to an 8 lumen beam, but the beauty is I don't have to choose between the two. I can actually select anywhere in the middle. It's a variable setting. Notice I can dim it, stop it wherever I like, so I do like that option. Also love the fact that when I'm in a tent environment, I don't need the big beam. I much prefer to have a nice soft glow, right? So I can read the maps and do all sorts of things. So now I'll just pop the dome out, and we have a nice soft glow that can really allow it to illuminate the tent. And then the third aspect of this light that I always look for in a headlamp is the ability for that light to strobe. Strobe light in the night in the backcountry. Not a dance party going on, all right? Somebody telling you that they need help. So if you see a strobe, do what you can to be of help. If you need help, create a strobe. Universal sign of distress. So having equipment that can serve double duty, great thing. My illumination system now rolls right into my communication system because it is important to be able to communicate out there as well.
Right, communication is definitely an essential we have in place before we hit the trailhead. Someone knows our plan, where we're going, when we're coming out, and they know to be in contact with us if we've not been in contact by a certain time. And then we also carry gear with us that allows us to communicate from the trail. A loud emergency whistle, Randy has one attached to the shoulder strap of that pack. You take a fall, still easily accessible. Some type of reflective device like a signaling mirror. And then we do backpack with our cell phones. We surely don't keep them on, but if we found ourselves in an emergency situation, there is a small chance that we'd be able to get a signal and get a call out. Now, I know it's very hard to believe in this country with all the cell towers that you see everywhere that only 10% of the entire world actually has access to cell coverage. But even if we don't, because of advancements in satellite technology, it's okay because we can now communicate from virtually anywhere in the world. I'm going to show you an Editor's Choice winner this year. The DeLorme InReach has definitely taken satellite communication from the backcountry to a whole new level. So this device, you can use it as a standalone unit, or you can pair it with your Android or your iPhone. If you use it as a standalone unit, you have a couple of functions. First, you can activate a tracking mode. If you do that, anyone that you've designated home before you leave can watch and see where you are out on the trail in real time every 10 minutes. They can track you at home. You can also pre-program messages that you can send via text or email at any time from anywhere out on the trail. And then most importantly, if you found yourselves in a life-threatening situation, you've got an SOS button, that happens, your signal is going to be sent to the GEOS International Emergency Response Center. They're going to contact local search and rescue. They're sending someone to come get you. And it's not just in this country, it's anywhere in the world.
Yeah, this is a game changer for a number of reasons in the world of satellite communication, one of which, as Sherry just said, this works off the Iridium satellite network, truly global pole-to-pole network, so it will function anywhere in the world. Second, this opens the door for two-way communication. Before, with the satellite communicator, you needed a message sent, you hit the button, you went, oh, I hope it got there. You had no way of knowing. Right now, you're going to get a delivery notification in return with this device to enable you to know your message was received at the other end. Add the Bluetooth link in. Now, pull up anyone in your smartphone's contact list, send them a 140-character message similar to a text. They can receive the message and return to you a 140-character message. So it's just a way to stay connected while you're out there on trail. But think about that from a response scenario in a life-threatening situation. Now you're giving the responders the information they need to be prepared when they get to you. They're sending you messages back telling you how long they're going to be and where you could possibly get to help them get to you. And every time a message is sent, it's embedding the GPS location of the receivers that are sending the message. So everybody knows where everybody is all the time. So definitely love that comfort I also love the fact that these devices have the ability to communicate with one another. Think about the applications there. If you're hiking together, you'll never get separated. Two, say you're in a hunting party. You're all out in the same field. It wouldn't be a bad idea to go and pull up your phone, pull up a map, and see where the other devices are at all times, right? I say all the time, if I'm ever on a hunting trip with Dick Cheney, I'm slipping one of these guys in his back pocket, right? I want to know where that guy is. But it's definitely a real game changer in satellite communication.
Right, and then another piece of gear you might consider adding to your communication system, believe it or not, is a little two-way radio. Obviously, a great way for us to communicate in campgrounds before we ever hit the trail with both of the radios. But we say all the time, even as a solo, lightweight, long-distance backpacker, we would justify just a couple of ounces because these are also NOAA emergency radios.
Yeah, these micro talk units, 3.2 ounces, easily justifiable in that now communication is being not only the ability to send messages, but receive critical information as well. Those 10 NOAA emergency weather and emergency alert channels could literally save your life. I'll give you a great example. Sherry and I, when I walk across the U.S., we're hiking along the Fremont River down in Capitol Reef National Park area of Utah, really remote area of the country. And we knew it was going to get ugly. Big thunderheads growing in the sky. Sherry kept saying, maybe we should lay up, to which I kept saying, we'll make it. You know how it gets when you get out there and you get kind of that goal in mind for where to camp. Sherry's hair started to stand up in the electrified air. And she said, no. We're not going any farther. She played what I like to now call her women's intuition card. Ladies, do you know that card? Where she said, I just have this feeling and you're not questioning it. And that's just the way it is. We're stopping. And so I said, all right, you win. Well, I'm glad she won because the campsite I was trying to get to about, a little deeper in the basin ended up when the Fremont River broke through the levee, ended up about 10 feet underwater. Could have been life-threatening, seriously. Where we were when the levee broke, ended up, our tent became a new island in a newly formed lake. We literally had to wade through thigh-high water as quickly as we could to get to higher ground. It was a very dangerous situation that could have completely been avoided by just turning one of these guys to the weather alert. It would have said, hey buddy, you're in the crosshairs of a 100-year storm. Don't go in that basin, and we could have avoided the whole thing, right? So a lot of times receiving information is just as important as being able to send it out.
Right, and communication is obviously key, but I really think the lesson to go home with tonight, fellas, don't ever question a woman's intuition, right? Yeah. And I am going to show you one more option because you are surrounded by so much water when it comes to communicating on the water. So this is actually, believe it or not, the only one exists in the world. It's the world's first VHF GRMS radio that you can use on land and on the water. You get all 10 NOAA emergency radios, and then the added bonus of SAME, which is specific area message encoding, which means you can filter out warnings from further away and set your regional location. So definitely a good option with all the water that you have around here to add to your communication kit.
That's right. If we're using these together out on trail, just going to clip it to the hip belt. Want easy access to it to be able to talk back and forth. If I'm a solo traveler, don't need it all day, every day, but I do want to know where it is when I want to call upon those weather alerts. So having things like the little view sacks here from Sea to Summit are great for small electronics, things like the radios, things like the headlamp. We're always thinking about packing efficiently. We don't have to pack and repack and unpack just to find things. So keeping things organized is important. We talk about these electronics. Notice in here, a couple of extra batteries, right? You're going to need to either bring some batteries, something to recharge, solar power, something, if you're going to have a lot of electronics and be out for extended periods of time. So tuck that away into the pack. Where we pack things is all about efficiency and being able to get to things and waste as little energy as possible. And so our next essential need, our essential need of protecting ourselves from the sun and the bugs is something we're going to think about with efficiency as well. Our clothes, obviously we look for UV protection built in there. Definitely want to have some type of shade-producing hat. Going to keep that clipped on the pack. Definitely want to have some sunglasses with you. Sunglasses can really be important, not only to keeping the rays off, but dirt, dust, debris. These things have saved my eyes many a time. Love the fact that Deuter offers little accessory pouches, little hard-sided pouch here that I can put the sunglasses in when I'm not using them. Anybody that wears glasses on a regular basis, great way to protect your glasses from getting beat up when you're not wearing them. When it comes to things like sunscreens and lip balm, these are things I want to be able to reapply often. Some big changes coming in the sunscreen world. You're going to see regulations that are now saying, no longer can you, have these extended usage. About every 2 hours, you're going to have to reapply. If you want the broad spectrum stuff, you need to really pay attention to ingredients. Any thing you want to be able to keep the UVA and UVB rays away, we'll be able to say broad spectrum. So a lot of the wording is changing in the sunscreen world. But this type of stuff, I want to be able to reapply throughout the day on trail. So I want to put it right in the hip belt pocket of the pack here. Something I can take out and use without having to take my pack off. So once again, saving energy. Bug repellent goes in here as well. When it comes to repellents, Definitely a lot of great options these days. Some people don't like harsh chemicals on their skin, so let's give you an option that you can treat your gear, permethrin. This is a great treatment in that this will allow you to not only treat your clothes, socks, shoes, your pack, your tent, you can create a bug barrier around you without having to touch your skin that's proven to be as effective, very effective against things like mosquitoes and ticks, just as effective as DEET is in some of those ways. So definitely love that product. When it comes to your skin, it's about choosing an active ingredient you're comfortable with. DEET is a powerful ingredient. It's going to keep the bugs away. It's going to eat your gear. So let's not get DEET on our gear. It can actually eat polyesters and nylons. Picardin, a less abrasive alternative to DEET for some of you. And then there's an ingredient called IR3535, like this one because they can actually mix it with your sunscreen. So those of you looking to go really lightweight, 0.5 ounce tube here. You've got your sunscreen supply and your bug repellent supply. All you need for that long weekend trip, all in one lightweight package.
Right. Now, in addition to the hip belt pocket on that air contact, it also has a front-facing side pocket. And Deuter calls this a map pocket, and they've strategically placed it there so you can actually access it without having to take your pack off every time. We like to store maps for our upcoming sections in that pocket, but we like to have the maps for our exact location on our person in a protected case with a compass. Having the ability to navigate is definitely an essential, and having this little kit on our person at all times means if we ever got separated from that backpack, we always have the ability to navigate.
That's right. Great example of not only the gear you need, but the skills you need as well. It will do you no good to carry this around if you don't know how to use a compass and read a map and know what a declination angle is. So take advantage of the classes. If you look at the schedule, I guarantee REI has a class on navigation, basic navigation. So sign up. Come learn these skills. You're not just going to miraculously know how to use it when you need to find your way out there in the wild. So make sure you have those skills on you. We do as well travel with a GPS unit. GPS is not a substitute for a map and compass. Simply an addition to, an upgrade to your navigation system. Definitely great to have somebody else keeping track for you, right? And then you can compare your location here to your location on the map, always orienting where you are. Love the fact that these GPS units have really evolved. This is the Magellan Explorer 710. I kind of call this the Rolls-Royce of GPS units in that not only is it packed with all of the maps you need preloaded in it, so you know having to buy maps when it comes to City Series, Summit Series, and World Edition maps. Also compatible with National Geographic's mapping software downloads. You get those really specific USGS quality maps. But this thing takes it to another level in that you're not only getting the great navigational tools, but it's going to offer you a media package as well, where you've got a 3.2 megapixel camera that can capture audio and video as well, which is really nice in that now you get to a beautiful spot, maybe a big waterfall, capture it. You get the sounds, you get the video, bring it home, you can relive it, you can show somebody else and then hit go and say, oh yeah, that's how you get there. Because it's going to attach all those files directly to the waypoints and the tracks that you're creating out there on the trail. So definitely love it when they can pack a lot of useful stuff into just a 6.8 ounce device.
Right, and Randy's actually going to attach that. He's got a little pouch right on the shoulder strap of his pack. One, you want it to be easily accessible throughout the day, and it also needs to have a direct line of sight to the sky. Now, in addition to that map and compass that we've got in one pocket, we also have a knife or a multi-tool on us as part of our essential system of repair kits and tools. Excuse me. And then we also have a complete fire system. That fire system includes waterproof matches, fire starting tinder. We usually have a lighter in there as well. And then you can see that kit's pretty packed out. We really call this a little backup essentials kit. That list of 11 essential systems that we started with tonight, we have most of those systems met in that kit as well. And that's a kit that we keep on our person at all times. And we do that for the confidence that it gives us. We know we've got a few redundant ounces, but we don't mind a few redundant ounces if it means it's going to build our backpacking confidence.
That's right. So at this point, we can check off every one of these systems. When you look at this bag, we know we're prepared, and that really does give us the confidence of feeling like we can respond to anything that's going to come our way. There's just two things left in this kit. It's important that we talk about luxury items and/or what I like to think of as enhancers as well, because it's not just about what you don't have with you when you go into these wild places. Oftentimes it's about what you do have with you, and I would never suggest to anybody to eliminate carrying something with them if it could enhance the situation. And there's a lot of great enhancers out there. It's all about what you're personally into, what your desire is, what you're wanting to experience while you're there. We'll give you some examples of some enhancers that we like to travel with, one of which are optics. I'm a big fan of being able to improve my view for very light weight. So 4 ounces, I get a 10 times better view. 10 by 25 binocular here. Great for a number of reasons. Not only observing the wild aspect of the environment that you're in. But think about it, if you're scouting around, this is not too far away from you guys. Asgard Pass out the North Cascades here. Sheri's kind of scouting the route. She's able from a good distance away on the other side of this alpine lake to see the route she's going to need to follow to get up successfully through that snow-covered pass. So definitely an advantage to seeing what's coming up ahead as well. Have the 10 by 25 binocular in there as well. Believe it or not, depending upon where I am, what part of the country I'm in, actually areas like this, the Yellowstones of the world, you know, where you get in there and it's just a big zoo with no bars and you're going to get a chance to see lots of animals. I've actually been caught with this guy in my pack. It's a portable spotting scope. It gives you up to 118 times better view for something that's only a little less than 2 pounds. So I justify it, right? Some people say, man, 2 pounds just for that. But when you're spending most of the day looking for wildlife, then it's an enhancer that you will enjoy having.
Right, some other fun enhancers that we have to show you quickly. This is a digital microscope, and believe it or not, it has a digital camera built into it, which means you can take still shots and video at a 200 times zoom. So all the little things that you're interested out there, this is a super cool enhancer. And then this is by far Randy's guilty pleasure. For all of you stargazers out there, for less than £1, this is the Celestron Sky Scout. All you do is point it at any object in the sky. It uses text or audio. It actually comes with a set of speakers to 1, identify the object, and then 2, tell you everything you'd ever want to know about it, including the scientific information, the history, the mythology. Say you want to locate something. Maybe you want to know where your zodiac sign is. Well, it actually has a list. Find your zodiac sign on it, hit locate. Actually uses GPS technology and a sequence of flashing red lights to point you directly to it in the sky. Tons of fun. I do find it funny though. I've actually watched Randy cut the handle off of a toothbrush to cut down this pack wing. At the end of the day, here she comes.
That toothbrush handle, that's not really going to enhance anything out there, right? But this guy can really enhance your stargazing. So that's what it comes down to when you're deciding on what to pack. Make sure it's something that's going to make the trip have an upgrade, if you will. Now, the last enhancer that we talked about, I almost consider it an essential. It's not going to save my life, so it's not an essential, but I refuse to backpack without it, and that's a quality camera. And having a quality camera on a backpacking trip is something that will really allow you to not only relive the experience later, but share it with others, which is a big part of Sheri and I's experience. However, I can tell you multiple times we've been in situations where cameras have failed us. I'll give you a great example. We were climbing a 14er out in Colorado. It was midweek. We get up to the top. I do this last climb over the big section of boulders, and there's Sheri on the summit all by herself. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And she looks over at me, and a little tear coming down, and I'm like, oh. She has been impacted by this moment. And I get a step closer to her and say, I broke the camera. And I'm like, oh man, so we have not a single summit shot, right? No evidence we were ever on that 14er because of one little drop. So I want a camera that can do that, right? And that's what I love about this. This is the Pentax Optio WG2. Literally, Pentax doesn't want you to use it as a hammer, but you could. In that it's adventure-proof, and what they mean by that is it's shatter-proof, crush-proof, drop-proof, it's cold-proof, dust-proof, it's waterproof. You can take this down to 40 feet underwater, take 1080p HD video at 30 frames a second, 16 megapixel shots, so huge pictures that can be blown up. Love the shooting modes as well. You get into some of these big sky environments, right? You want to be able to take a panoramic shot and capture the whole thing. It can digitally stitch shots together, which is a lot of fun. 3 people on this shot here. Background, front, and far away there. That's all Sheri. I just took 3 pictures as she was wrapping that corner so you can see her motion on the trail, which is kind of fun. Close-ups and macro shots. And then, obviously, that underwater option really can expand your creativity. This is the Tuolumne River out in Yosemite. I'm able to get the rocks underneath. Sheri on the bridge above because I can have the camera half above and half below the waterline. So lots of fun to be had with a camera that is, as I said, adventure-proof. So not an essential, but definitely making its way into our kit.
Right, and the enhancers that you decide to carry, as long as you can travel safely, it's completely up to you. But I will have to tell you, probably one of the most interesting enhancers that we've ever seen out on the trail was during our Appalachian Trail through hike. We actually met a guy whose trail name was Wyoming Skateboarder, and you can picture he was probably about 4 inches shorter than me, probably a good 20 pounds lighter than me, really small guy. And he actually had attached to the outside of his backpack a 5-foot-long wooden canoe paddle to hike the Appalachian Trail, right? And we looked at him, when we met him, we said, Wyoming, what's the canoe paddle all about? And he said, well, when I get to the Kennebec River up in Maine, I want to be able to paddle myself across that river with this paddle. And we thought, wow, that's really cool. But when we met Wyoming Skateboarder, we were in Georgia on the Appalachian Trail, which meant he's planning on carrying this paddle over 2,000 miles. We saw him one other time on the trip. We were actually in Pennsylvania. We were in town doing a food resupply. And Randy and I said right away when we saw him, man, I'm dying to know if he's still carrying that paddle, or did he go ahead and ship it ahead? We actually saw his pack outside the store. Sure enough, that paddle was attached to the outside of it. And we said to each other, right at that moment, we said, can you imagine how proud Wyoming Skateboarder was when he actually got to the Kennebec and that paddle finally hit the water and he was able to paddle himself across. So the point of the story is there's no wrong way to backpack. More than anything, we want you all to get out there and hike your own hike.
That's right. The idea, hiking your own hike, as I said at the beginning, very simple concept, can have a very profound impact on your life. I don't think I realized how important being able to hike my own hike was to me until the conversation I was having shortly after one of our long distance hikes. A young lady came to us. She said, look, I'd love to pick your brains. I want to try a through hike. I want to know as much as I can. So we sat down and talked for hours. Eventually spun off into a conversation about trail names. You guys familiar with trail names at all? A lot of times in the long distance backpacking world, people will go by a pseudonym. They'll either have a nickname that they bring along, or they'll do something kind of quirky around a group of people and get tagged with the name. Other times they'll be named by the trail. And I'll give you a great example of that. And that Sheri was certainly named by the trail. We're 5 miles into the start of our Appalachian Trail through hike. We get to a little blue blaze that says Long Creek Falls. Sheri says, you want to take a break? We'll go eat a snack, go over to the falls. We're working our way there. Little snow flurries coming down. It's late March. Mountains of Georgia. It's really cold outside. We get there. Sheri says, how cold do you think that pool of water is? Big pool, big waterfall falling down. I said, I don't know. Give it a feel. She goes to feel the water, slips and falls in it, right? Pack and all. So she comes out of there soaking wet, freezing cold, and I know it was cold because she came out about as fast as she went in, right? But we're standing there, and the other groups of hikers are coming around, and eventually they ask them kind of what happened, and as we explain, they say, well, there it is. You don't really have a choice. You're not sharing me anymore. You're Waterfall, right? So Waterfall it is. So that was the trail name she was given. She was going to carry that the rest of the way north. And for me, it took literally weeks later, hundreds of miles later, before I was tagged, pun intended, with the name. And that we decided early on, if we were going to make it to Maine together, that we were going to have to create a style of hiking that worked for both of us. And me leading the way just wasn't working. Sheri felt like she was having to play catch up all the time, a little faster stride, longer pace. So I said, look, here's the way to work. You lead, and I'll follow you wherever you go. And if we make it together, we make it. If we don't, we don't. No big deal. And that was just our style. So it was very rare for anybody out on the trail to, one, not see us together, two, not see Sheri first. So we'd come upon a group at a lunch break or come into a shelter here at the end of the day, and they'd say, and they'd announce our presence, you know, Waterfall, and that guy following Waterfall, right? They can never really come up with a good name. And well, you know, he who follows Waterfall has a bit of a Dances with Wolves feel to it, right? Just not a good trail name. So eventually it got condensed when one day somebody said, it's Waterfall and Tagalong. That guy's So Waterfall and Tagalong were the names that we carried all the way to Maine. And as I shared that story with this young lady, she said, you know, cool story and all, but I don't think I want a trail name. And I said, that's cool, you know, hike your own hike. I'm not forcing one on you at all. It's each their own. But can I ask you why you wouldn't want one? And she said, well, it's because I'm not really trying to go out on any of these trails and be someone or something that I'm not. I kind of looked at her sideways for a second, and I responded in a way that I'll never forget. Something that still impacts me to this day, because I needed to make sure she was clear that me being tag-along for 7.5 months of my life taught me more about who Randi was than Randi had in the previous 24 years. And I quickly realized, you know what, I'm not just talking about trail names, am I? I'm talking about the fact that I now have the confidence of knowing that I can get out there in any environment and be completely self-reliant and hike my own hike. I have a greater appreciation of my own limitations, a sense of caring and a sense of humility that at that point in my life wasn't even there before. And that's what backpacking provided me. And that's what I know backpacking can provide all of you. And that's why we cannot thank you enough for letting us share this hour and 20 minutes or so of your lives so that we can hopefully give you the information that you need to start down that trail. Because I promise you, if you get out there and experience that connection with nature, the connection with yourself that comes with feeling completely self-reliant in any wild environment, it will change you. And it will make you a more confident person, and it will ripple into all aspects of your life. So I say to you, get out there. When you get home, simply rinse and repeat, because the more time you can spend out there, the bigger the impact it's going to have. Now, we don't want to throw all this information at you and run the other way. We would like to make sure you recognize we are a resource to you. We have multiple avenues there. Backpacker.com/getoutmore. Website, tons of information. Use the search box. If you can't find something you're looking for, click on the link that says Ask. Ask Sheri and Randi. Those will come directly to us. We will personally respond to any and all questions that come in there. So please utilize that resource. Also, Facebook and Twitter. We would love it if you can get on there and click like or follow. We're trying to fill those avenues with all sorts of backpacking information on a regular basis. We'd love to build that community, so we invite everybody to take part in that. While at Facebook, one of the links you'll see on there will lead you to the Great Adventure Sweepstakes. And this is our way, one of our ways of saying thank you to all of you. One of which is to go to our website and enter our end of year giveaway. A kit like this, we're going to give away at the end of the year. So we we'd love for all of you to do that. The second is to go enter into the Greatest Adventure Sweepstakes. So all you have to do is follow the links, and when you get there, the Prime Lost page, you'll end up posting a picture of your favorite shot in the wild, put a caption on there, tell your friends to go vote. Top 10 vote getters are going to go into a pool. Sherry and I, as well as some other outdoor adventurers, are going to select a winner. We're going to give you a $2,500 vacation getaway. You can go on a hike on the AT, you can do some ice climbing in REI, Colorado, you can take a ski trip in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So it's not a bad way to get out and play, right? So we're all about informing, inspiring, motivating, but we also like to reward. And that's our way to do that. So we cannot thank you enough for coming out and spending some time with us tonight. We can't thank everybody at home who logged in to watch tonight as well. For everybody in the audience, we hope you stick around because we're going to reward you guys with some gear. Can I get a little gear love? So a big thank you to REI. The first question I always get, everybody says, we're going to open up some questions. They always say, well, what's it weigh, right? We put it all in there. What's it weigh? We're talking about 25 pounds of gear, and that's including at least 1 liter of water. We're talking about there's 8,000 calories of food. The pack itself is 5 pounds 15 ounces, this one that we have here. So we're looking at around 31 pounds total with this. Now remember, we've got our boots in there, we've got our clothes in there, we've got some things in there that are taking a volume we really wouldn't need. So we pull all those out. Now we can pack out the ACT Zero, which is a 3 pound, 4 ounce pack, and we eventually drop 3 pounds. We're down to 28 pounds. Take the clothes out, put those on your body, your shoes on your body. So you're really only carrying 22 to 24 pounds on your back. So it can be done really comfortably. Some people can do it even lighter. Some people will do it even heavier. It's not about weight. It's about weights, comforts, conveniences, and hiking your own hike in our opinion. So there's not a wrong way, but that's a comfortable weight for me. And that's why this would be a kit I'd be comfortable wearing. Aside from that, we'd love it if you guys would allow us to one more time thank REI for having us. Josh is going to kind of mediate for us here a little bit with some questions. We've got some questions, I think, that have come in from the World Wide Web as well.
We sure do take them. So the first one that we have is from Crystal B on Twitter. And she says, what are your thoughts on dry bag sleeping bags, or dried down sleeping bags?
That is definitely an evolution that we're watching happen very quickly. When you think about the idea of down versus synthetic, and now we have down, what I call kind of down on steroids. You know, so you've got these downs that are being treated with these DWR treatments before they're put into the end-use product. And so there's been a lot of success in creating a down that can dry quicker, that's more water resistant. So I think we're moving in the right direction as far as coming up with the materials and the ingredients that we need for the different activities that we're taking part in, the different environments that we're going into. I would still say to you to pay close attention to where you're going. If you live in Seattle and you haven't, you guys are losing your reputation. It hasn't rained good here in like 40-some days. you typically have a pretty wet environment, right? So if you're going to be in a lot of moist areas, then you might want to think about going the full synthetic route. So there's different reasons for different types of materials, different reasons your bag gets wet. We're not really putting our sleeping bags out in the rain. A lot of times it's condensation, it's dew, it's all these things that are creating moist environments. Once down gets wet, it doesn't dry quickly, so there's trade-offs. Just recognize those trade-offs would be my suggestion.
Nice one. And then we have one from Facebook. Is there a list of gear from today's presentation available?
There is. If you go to our website, which is backpacker.com/getoutmore, there's a complete downloadable gear list. And then if anyone is interested in the Prezi presentation that we showed tonight, if you click on that Ask Sherry and Randy link, you can actually email us, and then I can actually send you a copy of it as well. So it's all the information is at backpacker.com/getoutmore.
There is, and there's a specific blog on the blog post that is called As Seen on Tour, and it is this kit that we put together for you, broken down not only by manufacturer, but with links to the gear specs for each and every item. It's listed not only by item, but also by weight and cost. We talked about before, weight, comfort, convenience, but cost is a reality as well. So all that information is on the website.
Next, we have a sports bra question from Laura on Facebook.
Oh, can I answer that one?
Yeah. So a sports bra, in what are the best undergarments for backpacking?
Which would you prefer? Or is there a favorite out there?
Okay, so I get this question a lot, ladies, and usually it's not broadcast on the World Wide Web, but take note. So I have tested a lot of different products out there. there. And as far as a bra goes, I'm a big fan of the Isis henna bra. It is actually not a sports bra, and that sports bras have a lot of extra material, which means that material is going to get wet, more material on wet skin that actually needs to require to dry. So it's more of a bra, regular bra style, which I think is a lot more comfortable as well, but it's made out of all synthetics, it dries quickly, there's no clamps anywhere that interfere with your backpack, and all the hooks are protected as well, so you get no pressure points with any of your pack on your back. And then I'm going to take it a step further and talk about underwear as well. So Patagonia makes some great underwear, Isis makes some great underwear as well. I personally have a problem, I just can't pay $20 for one pair of underwear. So I'll tell you my trick. I actually go, some major department stores carry a line called Barely There, and it's just a polyester spandex blend. You can get a 3-pack for like $12. So it wicks well and it dries quickly, exactly what you're looking for. So bottom line with all of it is materials are crucial. You definitely want to stay away from the cottons, all of the synthetic fabrics for sure that are going to wick and dry quickly.
Excellent, thank you. And there was just a couple questions that came in if this was going to be available to view later. And we don't have a mechanism yet to put that out, but we're going to try to get it up on YouTube.
Great.
Any questions from the audience here? Would you guys, if you have any questions, we'd be glad to take those as well.
I'm just kind of curious, you know, it's blanketed, is that what they're called? Kind of like
Yeah, if I'm going out for a day hike, and that would certainly be something I could integrate into my day hike setup as just an emergency insulation / shelter, useful in that regard. In this kit, because of the fact I have in here a shelter, I have in here specific insulation, it's just one of those items that I have already covered the essential needs of with what I have supplied here. So I could, think about trading things out, and on a day hike, certainly that's a great thing to have in that if you found yourself in a situation where you needed it, it could be useful to you.
It would also be a great addition, that little essentials kit that we keep tucked on our person. It's such a small, compact, lightweight piece of gear. You could easily justify slipping one in there, and then you've got it on you at all times.
Randy, could you quickly repeat the question?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Yeah, the question that she asked was about small, compact space blankets. The silver, kind of metallic looking space blanket. There was a kind of interesting spin-off from that, in that one of the innovators at NEMO, the shelters we carried, he was actually found himself in the White Mountains of New Hampshire overnight, unexpectedly, and used one of those through the night, and realized that was very dangerous. It was not something that he felt any comfort in doing, and that he felt like he was pushing his limits. And so he came home from that experience with the idea of, I've got to be able to make something small and light. So that Go-Go Elite type of shelter we have in here, 1 pound 8 ounces, obviously heavier than the space blanket, but still small enough to fit in a day bag, was something that he came up with as if I go out even for a day and find myself overnight, this little space blanket might not do it. So he wanted a shelter that would. But certainly something you could put into a day hike setup to give you that extra comfort and need in an emergency situation. Anybody? Yes, sir.
The inReach piece, does it require a subscription, or is it included in the price when you purchase it?
So it does require a subscription. So the unit itself is around $150, and then there's different subscription levels depending on how many texts or emails you plan on sending from the field. So it's very similar to the text bundles that you buy with your phone. So the very basic plan, you're looking at about $19.95 a month, and you get a certain number of texts. You go all the way up to $50 a month if you want it unlimited texting and messaging from the field.
And I'm excited to see that they're recognizing our need as users. So at one time there was a minimum 1-year plan. You could have cheaper with 2 years. Now they have a seasonal package where you can get a 4-month package deal. So some folks that aren't spending as much of the winter months and needlessly having that account can get shorter periods of time that would allow you to use the device.
It looked like the technology that this has is going to be around a while, so if you bought it today and had it 4 years from now, it's still.
It is. It's a technology that we're seeing evolve. The question was, is it a technology that's going to be around for a while? Do I need to worry about buying it today and tomorrow something will come out that replaces it? And I think with this concept, now that we have as much technology built into this as there is, with two-way communication and being able to, you can even update Facebook and Twitter with the device. I mean, it's amazing what all can be done from this one device. However, I believe you're going to see an evolution. You're going to see continual direction as far as satellite communication goes. Things getting lighter, things getting smaller, things allowing us to send additional data files. I mean, all different types of things are down the road. It's just a matter of how fast the technology can evolve. But I guarantee there are some engineers right now that their job on a daily basis is to work on some of these things. But with what is packaged here, I'm comfortable with what we now have, and that I know that I have the ability to get out of SOS when I need it. I have the ability to communicate back and forth with others. So it's really packaged with everything that I would be worried about at this point. Yes, sir.
Is that a satellite?
It's not a satellite phone. It's a satellite communicator in that it allows you to send text data. It's not you don't speak into it. Yep. So
other than
exactly. It links with your Bluetooth smartphone via Bluetooth, but that basically enables the smartphone to become an interface that you can now type into to send the text, type into to update social networks. And so it requires the interface for the texting and adding of information. So it's not a communicator that you voice activate so much as you text.
You're between the hills up in the mountains or something, you can still communicate out.
Exactly. It's designed to work off of an independent satellite network, so it's not going to be not necessary for you to be dealing with cell towers and or even the idea of triangulation. It's going to triangulate to get a GPS fix, but as far as sending a message goes, it only needs one line of sight to a single satellite to get the message out. So it really expands your ability to get a signal to anyone from anywhere.
Are they replaceable batteries or are
They're currently not there. Well, it is a replaceable battery, yeah. They suggest that you use a lithium battery as far as...
It's actually 2 AA batteries.
Yes, double A's, yep. Yes, sir.
Does the same device work as if you were caught in an avalanche? Would it work as a beacon to help you look?
Would the device work as a beacon in an avalanche situation? No, as far as sending out the beacon signal, it's not a beacon in that regard. It's a device that's going to work primarily off of the satellite network. So if you were in that type of situation and able to get to it and get a line of sight to a single satellite, that could be effective. But if you're buried under a pile of snow, you definitely want to have a separate beacon with you as well.
The second question, a ballpark figure of what your kit costs?
Yes, this kit, if you were to put this exact kit together, buying retail price, manufacturer suggested retail price, you're looking at about $3,700. Now, that number seems really high, but you have to remember some of the items, some of the technology, you take the GPS, you take the satellite communicator, you take the camera, and you're up over 1,000 right there, just those 3 items. So there's definitely some items that are much, there are some cost-effective items, and there's some items that are a lot of technology that are going to throw that way up.
And I think this is the perfect opportunity, REI, to open up the floor to check out their garage sale that they have every year. Because you can get some really good gear at some good discounted prices for sure.
That's right. That's right.
We have a question in the back.
Yep.
I had a question regarding packs. Do you have recommendations for packs with straps that are designed to fit women with a larger bust line, and where the weight is going to sit more on my hips than on my shoulders?
Yeah, as far as the packs go and the fit and the adjustability packs, for women specifically, the shape of the shoulder strap is going to be critical. And that kind of slimmer shape that can wrap the body a little better, allow a full bust to be comfortable is definitely important. Depending upon your exact frame, I would almost suggest looking at packs that offer interchangeable parts. There are packs that you can take the hip belt off, you can take the shoulder straps off, and you can replace them with very custom fit. And so folks that are kind of outside the range or on either direction, too small or too large for what would be a standard offering, so to speak, I oftentimes suggest that they go the interchangeable route, because now you can really customize a hip belt to one size and you get a completely different size shoulder strap that can really just fit your body like a glove.
Right, and I would also recommend making sure the chest strap has the ability to move. So some you've got a fixed strap where wherever that is, you're stuck with it lying there. So you can actually get straps that will actually adjust so you can really move it, which helps too because you can adjust it throughout the day if you're feeling any rub spots. And then we always say any pack that you try on in the store today that's empty, it's going to feel awesome on your back because it's empty. So REI has weights that they can put in those packs. If you're really coming in to purchase a pack, plan on spending a good hour in here. Try on as many packs as you can with weight. They've got plenty of stairs. Just start walking up and down. You'll know right away if that fits your back right and if it's going to be comfortable. You're going to get rub spots. You got weight in it. You spend some time in it. You'll find something comfortable for you.
And as far as distributing that weight to your hips, a big part of that is going to be making sure you have a pack that matches your torso length. If that pack lines up properly with your torso, it's going to put the hip belts in the right place, kind of on the iliac press there. Got to put the shoulder straps in the right place, wrapping the shoulder. You know, if you can put on a pack and you can get a hand in between your pack strap and your body, then that pack's not distributing the weight properly. It's putting more pressure in fewer places. So really getting the right fit with the torso can improve your comfort as well as far as where the weight is bared on the body.
We have 2 questions that come in from Facebook. The first one is from Louis. He asked if, do you carry antivenom or is it even recommended?
Destination specific, totally destination specific. If you're going into environments where you obviously are remote enough and in a location where that native species could be a threat, and you have access to those kinds of things, why not? And that's really where those research steps come in, is knowing your destination, knowing exactly what you're going into, what's going to be there when you get there, what type of wildlife you can expect, and where the closest points of contact are as far as if you do have an unfortunate incident, how do you get out of it? So a lot of that has to happen before you hit the trail, but I would say that there's no reason to point anybody away from doing anything that would build their confidence, knowing that they're going to be more comfortable in those environments.
And I will add, I think the best course of action, if you do experience a bite, stay calm and get yourself to help as quickly as you can in the calmest fashion that you can.
Awesome, great advice. And then this is an AT question. So we have a question from Amanda who asks, was there a guidebook that you all used for the thru hike?
Well, there's a thru hiker's handbook that comes out typically each year. It's a great resource that gives you mile by mile what to expect, where shelters are, where water sources are, what town stops are, which direction the groceries are, all those types of things. So anybody that's on a network like the AT that's such a well-defined route, have been hiked by a number of people, there's a lot of community around the trail that supports a trail like that. So things like the thru hiker's handbook, it's updated on an annual basis, is a great thing to have to complement your maps for that type of trip. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a comment though. I mean, I wear ladies' undergarments, but we missed the #1 male thing. Where are you keeping your duct tape? Because I use that on the trail a lot.
Yeah, duct tape is critical. The kit that we had, that essentials kit, there's a roll of duct tape there. Also, I do hike with trekking poles. You'll oftentimes find there's duct tape around the trekking pole as well. So definitely something that, once again, duct tape as far as the fix-all. Give me some duct tape, I can fix just about anything, right? So same deal. Definitely include that as part of our tools and repair kits. When you think about that idea of being able to repair in the field, certainly a good idea. I'll give you an example of that concept. Kristen Hostetter, one of our gear editors, just came out with this book. That's all it's about. And this is all about outdoor gear maintenance and repair. And I guarantee a great number of her fixes has to do with duct tape or tenacious tape or anything that you can use that's going to allow you to do everything from fix a tent pole to pack strap. So definitely a good idea to have with you. Yes, ma'am.
We hear you brought a cricket. Do we get to see it?
We do have a cricket. That's right. Yeah, the cricket trailer is definitely with us. Sherry and I will divide and conquer. When we split out of the room here, Sherry will take you guys out there. It is a crazy cool quality of life upgrade for us on the road. This is the first year we've traveled in the 7 years of traveling that we've been living out of anything other than a Subaru. And so having a little 15-foot pull-behind trailer that can be pulled behind the Subaru, with things like a refrigerator and running water and those kinds of things. We're spoiled. Some people say we're getting soft. I say we're getting smart, right? So it's definitely with us, and definitely some tours will be had just after we wrap up.
Yeah, as soon as we give out the gear, I will actually run outside. For anyone interested, I'm actually parked, I don't know what this side street is, but this is Yale, and we're actually parked right out of the side entrance.
Perfect. Cool. Yes, sir.
With medical equipment, would you recommend quick lock, or would that be more of a, specific training?
Yeah, well, one I would say you don't use anything that you don't have the skill to use. So you definitely have the skill to use that, and know when to use it and how to use it is going to come with it. I get asked that question a lot of times by folks in the military. It's obviously part of the standard package, right? But once again, destination specific. Are you going somewhere and taking part in an activity that could create that scenario where now, if you don't treat it yourself, you don't have access to help. And so having that type of equipment, if you can justify the weight and you build your confidence, and you are trained to use it, then I would never say to not take something like that with you. On the other hand, if you're going into a destination where you now have, faster access to help, you've done your research, you know your bailout points, you know you're going to be able to get out and get to help, you've got other supplies with you, it can happen. I've got a scar right here where I took a fall in the White Mountains, where it was just a simple thing, and I just took a slip, and if that little stick that got me went that much farther, it could be deadly, right? I mean, that's the kind of thing. It can happen really quick, and you don't have to be that far away. So if you have the skill, and you know how to use that stuff, and you're medically trained in it, and you justify carrying it, gives you the comfort and confidence of feeling prepared, then sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question about backpack design in the future. Are you seeing newer and more advanced fabrics being used, like Spectra and other things? I know there are a few companies out there that do make very, very expensive backpacks, but are you seeing that there is a trend towards that, but still keeping the volumes fairly large?
It is. I think over a long period of time we've seen that progression in lighter weight deniers that are just as abrasive resistant, just as great, same amount of tensile and tear strength, abrasion resistance, but the deniers are getting lighter. And so we've seen lighter weight, that movement in the development of materials constantly improving the weight of packs. Packs that were at one time 6 pounds, you take the same volume of material, and now you can get a 3-pound pack because of the simple materials themselves have gotten lighter. So I think we're going to continue to see that. Cost is going to be a big deterrent. A lot of the brands and Spectras of the world, that's not a very inexpensive ingredient fabric to be working with. So when you start seeing more and more brands using it, the consumer base recognizing the benefits of the strength and the durability, then I think we'll see more and more manufacturers going down that path. But I don't think they've ever stopped moving in that direction. If we can make it just as strong and abrasive resistant, but lighter, then we're going to do that, right? And that's I think that we owe a lot of the lightweight dry sacks and stuff sacks and those innovations to, just that, even these nano weight materials. You can see someone has these 13-liter nano weight dry sacks that weighs 1 ounce for 13 liters. I mean, you can fit a lot of stuff into a 1 liter bag, a 1 ounce bag, and justify the weight for sure. So.
Yeah, and I think the biggest consideration to remember with the road that we're going down, seeing lighter packs, is you've got to pay attention to the carrying capacity. Because if you go downstairs and you find a pack that weighs 2 pounds, you say, great, I'm starting out with a really lightweight pack. That pack, you really need to make sure it's designed to carry the load that you're going to carry. So if you're carrying 65 pounds, good chance a 2-pound pack might not be able to support that type of load. So as we do get lighter and we get more advanced with the fabrics, I think you still have to really pay attention to make sure it's got the support system to be able to carry heavier loads if you're going to carry a heavy load.
Yeah, the movement of kind of getting lighter and lighter only works if everything gets lighter and lighter, right? You can't have a real light pack with a real heavy load in it and expect to be comfortable.
We have time for one last question.
Someone say, where's the gear?
Yeah. And they're antsy. They want gear. There we go.
So have you had a personal bear encounter?
Multiple, yeah.
Okay. And what are your recommendations? What do you personally carry?
Yeah, well, depending upon where we're going, once again, destination specific, having some type of grizzly pepper spray, in big bear country, a good idea. You think about, people think bears, they think Yosemite a lot. Yosemite does not allow these. They don't want you to have them. They're actually outlawed in Yosemite. They could be, and there's still a lot of different research out there, but Yosemite says it may actually be unattractive. Bears actually may be attracted to the scent of that thing. So, in my opinion, it's the idea of just making sure you know your environment. If I'm in big bear country, I'm making a lot of noise, I'm walking loud, I'm talking all loud, I'm making sure that I'm not sneaking around any corner or anything. You never know when you're going to run into one. I'll share an interesting story from just this tour. We were hiking in kind of the wilds of Pennsylvania. There's an area in Pennsylvania that's pretty remote in the heart of Pennsylvania. We did a multi-day trip. Sharon and I are out there, about 3 days in at this point. We come out of a wash. This is on a section of what is going to be known as the Great Eastern Trail. Those of you that are not yet familiar with that trail, we're helping to kind of promote a trail that's going to go from Alabama to New York, creating a link from the Florida National Scenic Trail to the North Country National Scenic Trail that will allow you to walk from southern Florida to North Dakota on one continuous footpath. Pretty cool concept. But we're on the Great Eastern Trail in Pennsylvania, coming up out of a wash, and without knowing so, we had scared a black bear up a tree. It was right at this kind of wide junction where we had to decide which way to go. So we paused there and pulled out the map. We're hanging out, deciding do we go this way or this way on this shelf, and then we hear this very loud snap. And we look up, and man, there's a branch coming. Holy cow, there's a bear coming too. It would have been one thing to have to dodge the branch, but literally this bear that had treed himself and snuck out onto this tree limb that didn't support his weight, snapped, and he literally fell about 2.5, 3 stories. Would have landed right on us. And we kind of backed away with as quick as we could. I mean, it happened really fast. And fortunately for us, I don't know too many bears personally, but the fear in his eyes for falling 3 stories was all it took for him to not want anything to do with us. So when he hit, almost landed like a cat, kind of discombobulated for a second, but then boom, took off down the same trail we had just come up away from us. And most of the time, that's the reaction we get. We've come upon bears that have fortunately not been aggressive. We've come upon some that have not been passive. They basically look up and say, I was here first. Or he got the same memo we did. Back away slowly, I know it's anywhere real fast. But the biggest thing is knowing the creature, knowing the environment you're going into. If you're going into Yosemite, you're going into Smoky Mountains in Carolina on either coast there, you've got some heavy populations. Front country camps are oftentimes more heavily visited than backcountry. The backcountry bears still don't want anything to do with humans. The ones in the front country have been kind of conditioned to dinner bell, So knowing the environment, knowing the animal itself, and then trying to make appropriate decisions to avoid the encounter is my suggestion. Once in an environment like that, if you happen to encounter a bear, just try to do all the right things. Don't get between him and her and the cubs. If you have spray on you and you're in big bear country, and I say big bears in grizzly country, wait until you need to use it. When you need to use it, unload it. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you. Let's give it a big round of applause.